COVID-19 pandemic, and other communicable and non-communicable diseases has been astounding. As broadcasters, what we feed the public is very crucial. Crucial not just to themselves, but also to the survival and sustenance of our society. So what is the untold story that we are all gathered here today to deliberate? The untold story of cancer? Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa carry the greatest burden in that order, according to the statistics, latest statistics. And the estimate is that by 2030, cases will be hitting 1 million, and even far higher. Yet we know the predisposing of risk factors, whether it's breast cancer, cervical cancer, prostate cancer, and all other cancers. The other story, not just the financial burden, it's also the emotional, psychological, anxiety, depressive trauma that both patients and relatives go through. Yet we live in denial. Ask a Nigerian woman to examine her breast, and she tells you, God forbid. God forbid, I won't have it. We are very religious. So today, we'll be looking at not just the science of cancer, we'll also be looking at the myth surrounding cancer. We'll also be looking at what we can do as a united Africa, as broadcasters, to have the indices. On this note, once again, I'd like to welcome everyone and to pray and hope that at the end of the day, Africa will move forward and be healthier. My name is Claire Adelabu Abdurazak, and I work with the Nigerian Television Authority. And my co-anchor, or co-MC, is Cecil Egbele, and I bring her up to the microphone at this hour. Thank you.
Good morning. I know French. Bonjour. Then I just asked Google Translate now to tell me the Portuguese, and it says is bon dia. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? Oh, good, thank you. All right, my name is Cecil Egbele. I work with the Nigerian Television Authority. And first, I would like to sincerely apologize very profusely that we are starting far behind our scheduled time. We needed to put some things in place because today's session promises to be very engaging and more like a high point of our meeting here in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. And of course, like Claire has said, we'll be talking cancer today. It will be a symposium, and the topic is putting public service broadcasting at the fore of Africa's public health agenda, spotlighting the untold story of cancer. Yes, we will try to demystify cancer, and of course we know many bright brains emerge from Africa, and these bright brains we'll have here as we go on with our symposium today. But very quickly, so that we wouldn't stay so long here, we have a very beautiful gala night planned in the evening. I hope to see us all then. Then we'll have all the chit-chats, all the backslapping, all the hellos, and well done. I would like to call on to give a keynote address, Dr. Okwipi Okbako. He's the Director and National Coordinator of the National Cancer Control Program of the Federal Ministry of Health here in Nigeria. Please let's welcome him as he gives us a keynote address.
Good morning, everyone. The organizers of this program in particular, and all invited guests. I'm actually standing in for Professor Isaac Adewale, who had to give these opening remarks. But it's actually coming in form of a PowerPoint presentation. Sorry that it cannot be projected. Professor Isaac Adewale is a renowned gynecologist here in Nigeria, and I think all over Africa. He's done a lot of work. He's been in the academia. Of course, he's done so many publications. And of course, he's a real cancer advocate. He has been at the forefront of advocating for cancer control and prevention. And of course, he was the former Minister of Health here in Nigeria. His works, they still speak even all over Nigeria. So it's indeed a great honor for small me, as it were, to stand in his place to make his presentation. Thank you very much. The topic is bringing collective urgency to a task that must be done. Collective urgency, as it were. No one can do it all alone. It must be teamwork. And so the untold story of cancer in Nigeria. Cancer challenges in Africa. The mortality rate is about 693,487 as at 2018, 693,487 as in 2018. And this is estimated, projected to double in 2040. Actual figures could be higher. Cancer explosion could be attributable to multiple factors, ranging from infection, changing population dynamics, behavioral lifestyle changes, environment, genetics. And of course, this is all inclusive, ranging from, our diet, as it were, and, being active or not being active, as it were, and so much. In Nigeria in particular, if you want to talk about Nigeria, the estimate we have is about 72,000 deaths annually and 202,000 new cases as it applies to Nigeria. And like every other country, most countries, maybe every or most countries, breast takes the leading, followed by cervix for the female, and of course you talk about prostate for men. But these days, colorectal cancer is also becoming prominent. The features of cancer in Africa, though you can't see it, it's quite gory. The sight is not good at all. And of course, we know why it is so. One major factor is late presentation makes it to be so. Delayed diagnosis, treatment, and poor outcomes arising from the late presentation and other times available equipment and resources to do the treatment. Economic impact of cancer in Africa is huge. The figures are here, but I don't think. Challenges requiring action. What do we do? Education and awareness, creation about cervical cancer, very key. Almost 100% preventable by vaccination and screening coverage. But the screening coverage is low in most places. Cervical cancer, I don't know if you're aware, but many of us may. Human papilloma virus is responsible for it, which comes from the men to the women. And that is why in some countries that may be of a lesser population than us, they've taken it to vaccinate even the boys and the girls. But many other countries, maybe due to resources, we want to concentrate on the boys, on the girls rather, ages 9 to 14, where we think they would not have been exposed to sexual activities, because that is where the whole thing begins. Early cancer is curable, but diagnostic and treatment facilities are unavailable. This is one of the reasons why the outcomes are low. Data and human resources, they are not adequate. They are not adequate. Most times they are haphazard. Drugs, even when they are available, they are very expensive. Many of our people cannot afford. Why is cancer control a priority? 40% of cancers are preventable. 40% are treatable if detected early. The cost of national economics due to loss of productivity, loss of workforce, catastrophic out-of-pocket domestic expenditure on diagnosis, treatment of children and working-age adults with cancer across Commonwealth. All this talking about the impacts, the effects of cancer on. Now, some things have been done to ameliorate this, to assuage the burden, the effects on us. Like we talk about radiotherapy machines. Of course, the standard by IAEA is 1 to 1 million persons, but that is a huge task to achieve, Here in Nigeria, we have facilities presently operating. We have about 13 where we have cancer, equipment operating. Talk about this. It may not be a one-stop shop for every center that have these facilities, but at least they may have one of them. The major ones are the brachytherapy machine and the linear accelerator. A few of them may have both, making it almost a one-stop, shop for management of cancers, but others just have one. But one major challenge I must quick to mention is that many of them have just one, and so downtime becomes a problem. When one goes wrong, it takes a lot of time to come up again. In terms of human personnel, that is yet another challenge. We do not have enough, personnel to do this. Sorry, I have very short time, so I have to select what to maybe bring to our attention. Now, there is the Lancet Oncology Commission, Cancer in Sub-Saharan Africa. They did a report. This commission was created to inquire into, describe, and analyze the state of cancer in Sub-Saharan Africa and recommend key actions to address the growing challenge. Brought together experts on all aspects of cancer control from Africa and around the world. Now, they put out their report in 9 sessions. I'll quickly go highlight some of them. Now, they advocate that we should have cancer control plan. Of course, Nigeria has one. We are just reviewed the one that ran from 2018 to 2022. We finalized the one that will be running from 2023 now. We just at the very final stage of it. So other countries that do not have, we really need to have this so that it will guide, how we go about the fight against cancer. Improving data acquisition and cancer registration. Of course, without data, how much can we do? Without research, how much can we do? So data is key, but here in Nigeria, thank God we've been operating cancer registries. Currently we have 30 hospital-based cancer registries and 10 population-based cancer registries. Although we still need to improve, because for childhood cancers, the data is rather poor. Designing healthcare systems that promote equity of access. He already talked about the economic state of our people, making it difficult for many of them to afford cancer bills. And that is because many of them are done out of pocket. But here in Nigeria, this present government has put in place, since 2020, they made some money available. Not just that, it's actually running in our annual budget, what they call Cancer Health Fund. So in this, they provided money to manage indigent cancer patients of cervix, breast, cervix, and prostate, these three for now. And currently is operating in 6 pilot hospitals, 1 in each political zone. You know, our country, we have 6 zones. So this very program is operating in 6 hospitals, 1 in each zone. In addition, we have a cancer access program. This program is designed to make cancer medicines available at a cost, 50% and above the current market price. Currently is running in 19 hospitals, 19 tertiary hospitals. But it is already issued that every tertiary hospital that must manage cancer must key into that program, cancer access program, where medicines are made available at not less than 50% current market price. Cervical cancer is a major challenge. We already established that it could be totally prevented if, especially with the HPV vaccine, if it's introduced within that age of 9 to 14 that we said, then of course cervical cancer, and you may be aware that WHO had already put 2030 as the year to eliminate cervical cancer. Recommendations on cervical cancer elimination, political commitment and action. All Commonwealth countries to have a costed cancer control plan, as far back as 2021. Nigeria has already done that. A young girl living within the Commonwealth will have access to HPV vaccination by 2025. Nigeria hopefully intends to introduce it in the last quarter of 2023. It should have been 2019, but COVID struck and that had moved it to 2023. Support of affordable pricing systems for HPV vaccine and supplies and equipment. On the research, build a Commonwealth evidence base for cancer control beginning with Africa countries. Support establishment of regional centers of excellence in Commonwealth countries. Here in Nigeria, we've actually designated some of our cancer managing institutes as centers of excellence with a view to equipping them with modern facilities where all cancers can be managed. It's an ongoing process. Even in this current year now, government again has brought up some intervention fund so that 3 more centers will be added to already existing centers. That of, I may not bother you with that because we are not all from here, and then others are being strengthened, being equipped further through that intervention. It's an ongoing process. Now, in conclusion, cervical cancer is preventable. Screening and vaccination are critical strategies. What they do is that we detect the stage before cancer, before they become full-blown cancer. If it's detected at that stage, then it can just be nipped in the bud. Capacity for treatment must be built, training and retraining of our workforce. It requires meticulous planning, startup financing. Like we have said, Nigeria is presently, equipping and re-equipping and also helping the poor masses. Promote both economic and non-economic benefits. The Commonwealth is well placed to eliminate cervical cancer. Let us work together to eliminate cervical cancer now. The moderator is already here and I'm done also. Thank you so very much.
All right, that was Dr. Okpikpi Okbako. He's representing Professor Isaac Adewale. So the voice you heard is Dr. Okpikpi, but the message is from Dr. Isaac Adewale. Once again, let's appreciate Dr. Adewale for that presentation. Next, it's time for us to introduce our main segment for today, that is the symposium. And I would like to introduce the moderator who will take over from here, the moderator of this session. And of course, like we've told you, our topic for today, it's putting public service broadcasting at the fore of Africa's public health agenda, spotlighting the untold story of cancer. We've just had the presentation for the Federal Ministry of Health on cervical cancer. It's time for us to dig deep and actually profile ways forward. I'd like to introduce the moderator, Mr. Wangibi Emmanuel Wangibi. He's a Deputy Director General at the Cameroon Radio Television. He is a trainer, a media consultant. He actually has an intimidating resume I can't read up here now. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Emmanuel Wangibi to moderate the symposium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Let me start from here before I go to where I should be when our panelists come up. A good welcome to all of you to this last activity. When you've been at a conference that has been so engaging and long, the last day could be a difficult one. But what if I said it is not? It's the best for the last. The best for the last because we have taken the most important topic to close the symposium. It's about our health. The most important asset that we have as individuals and as nations. Nations are built on the sweat of healthy people. Permit me to commit, and I'm sure I will not be disappointed, that we've put together for you a panel that will keep us all engaged. And permit me at this point to recognize and appreciate the Abuja University Teaching Hospital for sending their students, 20 of them, to be part of this discussion. Our panelists, it's a reminder to all of us about how much impact the things we do, the knowledge we share, could have in different people's lives. Without taking any more time, we've listened to a keynote address, which, if you permit, I take 3 take-home messages. Why should there be urgency about the issue of cancer? The first is the ultimate price that we pay in human lives. We heard from Doctor in that keynote address, this continent loses about 700,000 of its people every year to one form of cancer or the other. It is serious enough. It has a financial burden, both to patients and their families, but above all, to nations. The cost of treating and handling cancer on this continent is estimated today in billions of dollars. We could do a lot with that if we could put our effort together to fight this disease. And finally, the emotional cost. We hear doctors, we hear medics talk to us about stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4 cancer. If you've seen somebody at the terminal stage of cancer, the pain is excruciating. But that pain is not only shared by the patient, it brings stress and strain to families, relatives, and caregivers. I submit that for these three reasons, there is need for urgency in how we tackle this problem on our continent. Permit me to invite back to stage our keynote speaker so that we could further close the discussion on the science of it. He has set the ground and given us the tools from which to work. And at the same time, invite Dr. John Toy Agbobi to join us for this second part of the discussion. Please, let's welcome them to the stage.
Donors among some racial groups in the country. This has inspired the hashtag Sabelo Awareness Campaign and DKMS Africa to join hands in raising awareness on blood cancer related challenges. Newsroom Africa's so it is said that every 72.
Long and short of that video, this is a headline in a newscast in South Africa. And what do we hear? Every 72 minutes, a South African is diagnosed with blood cancer. We have with us two doctors who know better what this is. It means that by the time we finish this first hour of our discussion, 50 South Africans would have been diagnosed with blood cancer. We're not talking of every cancer. Blood cancer alone. We're talking of South Africa alone. Imagine if we say by the end of this day, and if we say by the end of this day in Africa, all the 50-something countries of this nation. Dr. John, how serious, from what we hear, is the problem of cancer in general on this continent?
Well, thank you very much, Emmanuel. All protocols observed, as we normally say here in Nigeria. Yeah, the C word, that is, cancer, to many people, or most of us, elicits fear. Nobody want to hear it. Because as we all seated here, I'm sure almost every person might have had that experience. Either you lost relative or relation or son or daughter. So it is really elicits fear. Not only fear, but it is also true, as you've alluded to the data from South Africa, how many people dying per minute. Then there is global data of so many people dying every year. So cancer is for real. But the unfortunate thing about it, we've been kind of chasing the goose without really knowing what we are. In 1970, the former president of the United States, President Nixon, declared war on cancer. Declared war. It's been over half a century now, precisely 53 years. Have we really won that war? The answer is capital no. Because it's a situation as if a general that wants to go to war, you've not estimated the size, the strength of your enemy, and you are taking an AK-47 to go and fight a general that has artillery motor vehicle. So there has been a depth in the understanding of what really cancer is, what causes cancer. Even more
Dr. John, if you permit, before we come to what the disease is, let's get back to our keynote speaker. You talked about the effort to defeat cancer in the United States. We are reminded that last year, President Biden launched the Cancer Moonshot Initiative. And again, why does he relate cancer to moonshot? He is saying it is as critical, it is as challenging as when President Kennedy decided that he is going to send man to the moon. That's how challenging it is. And it is 50 years after. We get back to our keynote speaker. Is our African cancer moonshot, are we giving it that determination, given the seriousness?
Thank you very much for that question. Thank you very much for that question. Talking about if we are that serious about it in Africa, has to do with a lot of factors. Like I already highlighted in the speech that I gave, you can see a level of seriousness that we have put up there. But again, we are limited, by resources that are available to us. If we talk, for instance, the case of Nigeria here, now the government has even come in by itself to put funds together to assist indigent patients. This has not happened before. So that is some progress that we have made. And talking about the Cancer Access Program, is the first time that this is happening in our country. It has never happened before. So we are actually making efforts, but again, we are limited by resources. And then we talked about the availability of equipment. Of course, we know what we need, but where is the resources? So I think to a very large extent, we've put up a good disposition of seriousness to tackle cancer.
Let's continue with you, Doctor. You've spoken about resources. And resources are not necessarily only financial. In our medical sphere, do we have the human resources in terms of oncologists, nurses that are specialized in this domain? On the continent, do we have the human resource? And are we changing and building this human resource to tackle this serious problem?
Currently, obviously, we do not have enough. But some efforts have been made in collaborating with other countries that are perhaps ahead of us. Like the The Cancer Center at Lutz is a collaboration between government and private, NSIA. Now, in that center, some of the personnel that we have there right now, they are foreigners. And our people are understudying them, so that, you know, in no distant time, they will be able to take over fully. So in that, we are making some effort, but the point is that we do not have enough of oncologists. Talk about oncologists, a medical physicist, or oncology nurses. We do not have enough. But efforts are being made towards doing this. There are occasions where we have had cause to send our medical physicists by the Nigerian government to South Africa to train, you know. But again, we lost many of them. They didn't return. Why? Perhaps they were lured by better, you know, pay package or work conditions over there. So that again boils down to what? Resources. If we had enough for them, they would have willingly returned after their training, but now they were enticed. But maybe South Africa do well to send our people back to us.
I like the bigger debate about brain drain, which, as we're hearing now, the resource scarcity is leading to a brain drain which is not simply Africa and the West, but intra-Africa. And in a way, we could say a Zambian oncologist who finds better opportunities in Botswana is still serving this continent, even if there might be gaps that could have been filled in his or our own country. Dr. John, you mentioned something. The word we use so often, you call it the C word, the cancer. But what is it really, from a science point of view? What's cancer? Because we're told that there are over 200 types of cancer, and that it might only be our nails and our hair that are spared this disease. What is it that is so complex?
Well, thank you very much, Emma, for that question. As I was saying earlier, it's important for us to know what is cancer. Even specialists, you ask them today, they say nobody knows what causes cancer, because if you are to know who is John, you must know how John came into this world. So if you ask what is cancer, cancer is a multifactorial, multi-systemic failure of the body system and organs. Let's look at life. Life starts from a single cell. And I think this is how we should all look at, disease. We get disease, we get cancer or any other thing of that matter when the cell is no longer functioning very well. So I must take you back to the cell for us to understand what cancer really is. A normal cell is carrying out its metabolic activities effectively, no problem. A normal cell is a living being, just like me and you. It requires energy, it moves, it communicates. But key to it requires energy, just like you were able to walk into this room because we have energy. When that energy is no longer there, we cannot move. So going back to the normal cell, how did that normal cell, become cancerous? In school, we used to, you ask, in those days, that what is cancer? Cancer is proliferative abnormal growth of abnormal cells. We need to go beyond that. What made this cell to become abnormal? The primary cause is the inability of that cell to produce energy using oxygen. That is what we call aerobic respiration. Once that cell becomes unable to produce, energy, then it cannot carry out the normal functions. It goes its way. This is to say, that energy is used by utilization of, glucose, which is, and then oxygen. It produces the energy currency which we call ATP, adenosine phosphate. So, Once we live an abnormal life, our lifestyle is wrong, there is accumulation of toxins in our body. Once the toxins are accumulated, they perturb the physiological function of that cell. So the cell will now say, no, I cannot go through the normal aerobic respiration of producing ATP. You use one molecule of glucose to produce 36 ATP. So that cell now says, no, we cannot exist under this environment. It parts ways and goes through anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration is kind of fermentation of glucose. It's a very primitive way of producing energy. One molecule of glucose, as I said, through aerobic respiration will produce 36 ATP molecules. In case of cancer cells, those that have switched to go in that direction, they take one molecule of glucose and produce only 2 ATPs. You can see that all right, there is a shunting of energy.
Dr. John,
Production.
Dr. John, after listening to you, I heard aerobic energy, cell, what else? My old mother in the village says this is witchcraft. Too complex to understand. How does it happen? Move us forward in saying, yes, it's difficult to understand. It's there, we live with it. And we like to leave you with the science because it's too difficult. Once we understand that the cells that are multiplying and so on is good for us, the media, and we want to move on. And tell me, we've always had and heard of cancer, and once a time we called it the old man disease. But we know that in that disease there are demographic shifts today. Let us just ask our technicians to help us. Let us view one more video that will lead us to a discussion about the new areas of focus and cancer which are troubling for us in this country. It's the video on children's experience on cancer.
Can you remember what happened when you first went to hospital?
I had cancer.
Did you know what that word meant?
No. People come by me and then they look at my back of my head and then they ask what it is, so I tell them. And I say that when I was younger, I had a brain tumour in the back of my head.
You just don't expect to hear the words cancer when you're talking about your child. That first 72 hours for us was really, really terrifying. You try to be strong for the family. At the end of the day, you're only human after all.
When my hair started falling out, my dad was just devastated. I've never seen him cry before.
I didn't think I was strong until she was diagnosed. It took everything. I had to stop everything to be there for her.
Sometimes she would be upset, but I wouldn't really understand why. Seeing me like that, it broke her heart. I felt worried.
I think she does worry in the back of her mind about it, but even if it's just a tummy bug, she says, I need my hospital. The cancer's still in me, she'll say.
I remember saying to my dad, I don't think I can do this anymore. He's like, man up and get up and do it. You've got to. And I think I knew at that point I needed some help.
There was a lot of support around her, and she wanted to be like every other child, and now she is.
You have basically got to put your trust in a very, very experienced team of looking after your child's life, and you think you're going to do that, and all of a sudden it's not. It's taken out of your hands and given to somebody else. The drugs are horrible, they do horrible things to the kids, but to see what she's been through, I'll never ever take her for granted. Thank you to that doctor. If I ever see him again, I'll give him a big, big hug and say thank you.
Back to you, doctor, both of you. Is this shift in terms of cancer and children, babies, is it a trend that we are observing? in our continent? And are we equipped to deal with cancer in children? Yes, feel free to take the floor.
All right, let me go. All right,
Yes.
fine. Before I go forward, let me just summarize the earlier question you asked me, that what is the cause of cancer. 90 to 95% causes of cancer are due to environmental, risk, factors, leading to accumulation of, toxins and inability of the body cells to produce, energy. Now, there has definitely been a shift in the way we look at, cancer, or the incidence, the prevalence of, cancer. We used to be told that cancer is actually a disease of the age. But as we saw from that video, today you have very young people, even newly born babies are born with, cancer. What is responsible for this? The answer is in what I've just said. It's due to environmental, pollutions. We are exposed to toxins, chemical toxins, carcinogens, estrogens, in higher quantity or higher quantities that we used to be. That's why you see that the mother carrying that baby, because she is exposed to those toxins, the baby is bound with leukemia or born with any of these organ-based cancers. So due to environmental changes and accumulation of toxins, there has been a paradigm shift in the way we are reporting cancer cases. There is just no doubt about that. It is no longer a disease of the age. Young people are also being affected, and due to increase in environmental toxins and then pollutions.
And Doc, can you take the second part of it? Are we as a continent, as individual countries, equipped to deal with this shift? Because we are told treating cancer in children is not the same as treating cancer in adults.
Yeah, thank you very much. Talking about our being well equipped, we cannot say that for Africa for now. The word well equipped. But the issue is that, are we aware? Yes, we are aware. We agree with the upsurge, that the surge that is actually going on. And are we doing something? Of course. We're giving a lot of attention to children cancer right now. At least I can speak for Nigeria, as it were. Recently, even at your hospital, you are from Gwagwalada. Yes, we launched a ward, through this other partner in your hospital to manage children cancer. The ward was launched, and diagnostic equipment was also donated. So this effort is actually being recognized, and we are making effort. But are we well equipped? Not right now.
As we move towards the close of our discussion, where do you see we should be the direction we are going in terms of, from a medical point of view, where we need to push our energies in the next years as we struggle to handle this problem? You told us we are moving from diagnosis of about 1,100,000 every year in Africa to double in 2040. Death rate, we are moving from almost 700,000 to almost 1,500,000. Where should we, particularly in a situation of scarce resources, both financial and human resources, where should we be directing our energies?
Yes, in terms of directing our energy, as it is said, prevention is better than cure, and we've all established here that if cancers are detected early, then the outcomes will be better. Even some may not transform into actual cancers. So awareness is key. Awareness is key to the populace, so that our parents will, pay more attention to their children, taking them to the hospital, not self-care, or taking them to nearby, either religious places and all this, and then they are being presented late to the appropriate place. And then, of course, for government, we have to You know, I told you earlier on that the Cancer Health Fund, at least in Nigeria for now, is for 3 major cancers of breast, cervix, and prostate. Of course, at the Federal Ministry of Health, we already proposed that children cancer should be included in that fund. But again, you know, it's about the availability of resources, because there's no point starting and then you're not able to carry to the end. They suffer maybe a break in the treatment. I think these are the considerations of government. Even Federal Ministry of Health, they've recognized it and made a proposal. And then, of course, training and retraining, directing those who are interested in management of cancer to now think about children cancers also, not just the adults.
You're talking to a crowd where we have medical students. I think they are hearing you. As I did my research to put together the panel, Dr. John, I saw a dictum by which you live. You said, what we need more is not more medication. We need more information within the context of moving forward, how we treat, how we try to make ourselves not susceptible to the risk of cancer. How does that dictum translate? What does it mean?
Well, thank you very much. As earlier alluded by Professor Dewale in his own speech, 40% of the cancer cases are actually preventable, 40 are actually treatable. So if they are preventable, you know, prevention is, you know, the main thing. And creating awareness and educating people, as you are doing at this, you know, symposium, sensitizing people to understand what causes cancer. As I said, 90 to 95% cases of cancer are due to environmental health factors, which is mainly lifestyle. There are certain things that you need to do right so that you don't come down with, you know, cancer. Your body is able, even when the cancer is there, your body is able to fight it. Let us all know that on average basis, our body produces, you know, mutations, somatic mutations every day that are potential of becoming cancerous. But with a buoyant immune system, the immune system is able to actually fight these cancer cells, and we don't really come down with, you know, cancer. So we have to educate people on how to sustain and build our own immune system. How do you do this? It is mainly through lifestyle, talking about things like diet, talking about exercise, talking about adequate sleep, and you know, even, you know, fasting. Fasting now is one of the key things that has been shown to prevent several diseases. Our Muslim brothers have just come out of, you know, Ramadan. It is actually great. If you knew what your body benefited from the fasting, you would really wish to fast maybe twice, you know, in a year. So in conclusion, we're saying that cancer is preventable. And if you cannot prevent it, the best answer to cancer, if you fail to convince, is early detection. And early detection, as we've been told, carries out with all different forms of, you know, cancer. It is easier for me to deal with 1,000, you know, cancer cells than dealing with 1 billion cancer cells. Take, for example, mammography. By the time mammography picks up cancer and says that you are positive for cancer, the size, the tumor size must be at least 1 cubic centimeter. And the 1 cubic centimeter cancer represents over 1 billion cancer cells. Today we have techniques, we have tests like thermography, you have urine cancer screening that can predict the risk of you coming down with cancer in the next 10 years. Thermography can pick up cancer, breast cancer in women with the cells less than 500. It is easier for us to manage 500 cancer cells than when it is at the point of over 1 billion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our first panel discussion on this topic, the science of cancer and prevalence in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, can we put a hand for our distinguished panel? Thank you very much. We stand up for a picture. Thank you very much. Yes, we all stand for a picture. Thank you very much. We proceed quickly without any transition. We are media men, and what we are doing here is, what is our contribution in tackling this disease, which is so bad? The Minister of Health of South Africa described it as the pandemic. We've got for you a panel of very, very passionate media people. And we're going to call them up here, invite them here, so that they can tell us what they are doing, and we discuss how we could do it better. George Ola Davis, can you join us here? He's a seasoned journalist with more than 40 years of experience. He comes from Sierra Leone. He has worked for many media organizations on this continent and out of this continent. He likes to remind us each time that it was his starting off by covering conflicts that led him to going into diplomacy, that took him into many of the multinational organizations for which he has worked, communicating on different, and of course, health. Rabbi Abdallah is here with us. She is at the right point, the head of the health desk of the Nigerian Television Authority. She is a journalist. She is also an advocate for many causes, particularly those that concern women. Rabbi brings to this discussion a very hands-on sharing of experience of what is happening in our newsrooms. And last but not least is Karen Nakawaba. She comes from Zambia. She is a media personality. She is an advocate. She is an ambassador for many international cancer initiatives. But hold your breath. She is a cervical cancer survivor. What she brings to our discussion today is the reality of how that shoe pinches. As reporters, we talk about these stories, and we might be tempted when we talk of 1,100,000 infections a year for cancer, 700,000 deaths. It is not talking about election votes. It's not talking about how our stock exchange is faring. We're talking about human life. And this is what I want our panelists to bring to us. And we begin right away. I'll be giving them 30 seconds each to tell us, each and every one, what is your assessment of the situation of cancer in the continent? Are we doing too little in terms of coverage, too much, or are we barely there? George, do you want to take the floor first? Yes, your microphone is switched on.
Right. Thank you. We may be doing enough in our various countries, but we're not doing enough on the African continent. One thing that we have not actually done is to transmit things in our languages. I sat there listening to the doctors speak, and they spoke in what I'll call to my local people in tongues, we need to explain to these people what those things mean and how do we do them. Modern ways of doing things will help us. If you say 30 seconds, I'm a radio man, I've done 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. Rabi, what's your take on that? It's fine.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here, and I consider it a privilege because we're all gathered here discussing something that revolves all around life. Cancer is one disease no one will wish, even his worst enemy. And what do we do as communicators, as journalists? What we have, the tool that we have in our hands is information. Information is knowledge, and knowledge is power. Unfortunately, getting information to cascade to indigent people, the semi-urban people, is a great challenge. We could say we're doing enough. Our best may not be good enough, but we, at our levels, are doing what is expected. And I would like to share this with you as a Nigerian journalist who had covered health for quite some years now. Cancer. My passion in the coverage of cancer started with a woman who's been gone for a long time now. We called her Mama. I was a budding journalist, and she just walked into the newsroom, very vocal. Her spirit was high, but she was dying slowly. She was dressed in white, but beyond that, her chest was a sight to behold. Her breast had been ravaged by cancer cells. And I could perceive, then I didn't know that it triggers odor or any smell until that day. Mama didn't know much about what she was supposed to do.
Rabi?
Yes.
If you permit us to move progressively. Karen, we hear we're not doing enough, maybe within the limit of our means. Do you feel? And put on your other hat of somebody who knows how that pain is, and be critical in judging us and judging yourself. Do you feel we're doing enough?
Okay, like I said earlier on, information is knowledge and knowledge is power. And our role as journalists is to inform people, to enable them, have information on what to do. We've been doing that, like I said, might not be enough, but what do we do? I'll give you a newsroom scenario. Cancer coverage in this part of the world, and I stand here to be corrected, both as an electronic media practitioner and even the print media colleagues. What we allocate to cancer coverage is usually during maybe observances like World Cancer Day, which comes up every 4th of February. Then of course we know that October is designated as Cancer Month. And when these observances come, we try to do what we have to do by creating awareness. But even when we create the awareness, there are always, competing, slots for other stories, security, politics, economy, environment, and of course, under health. But of course, like I said, those observances usually give us that, priority to, position cancer stories. But other than that, I'm just being honest, other than that, health stories generally, not only cancer, usually don't get to make the headlines.
Okay. You nailed it right down. Karen, we almost agree. Little is being done. Why Why do we wait for the big days? People are dying every day of cancer. People are being diagnosed with cancer. Can a single day or breast cancer screening day, can 10 days in a year out of 365 be good enough for such a serious problem?
Thank you so much. Every time I see somebody speak with so much passion, then I know that she's walked in the shoes somehow. And I always say that when you're diagnosed with cancer, everyone around you is diagnosed, and I think that is what she experienced. And as journalists, I think we're not angry enough. Right now, it's estimated that a woman dies from cervical cancer every second minute. So imagine if you do your calculations from the time that we walked into this room, how many women have died? And if 10 women in this room were diagnosed with breast cancer, 5 out of the 10 are going to die. I don't think you need anything more than that to be angry enough to talk about it. Why should you wait until it is a topical issue? I always refuse to give interviews if somebody comes to me and says, look, Karen, it's World Cancer Day and would like a story, would like your story. And my question is, why should my story only matter today? Why should the millions of women and children that are dying only matter today because it's a topical issue? If a journalist is asked to pick something to talk about, they're going to pick something sensational, something they think is entertaining. They'll pick football, they'll pick politics, but they will not pick health because we feel that people do not want to read about health. It's because we haven't given them the information. And the minute we realize that we have the power to do that, I think that is the day that things are going to change.
Thank you very much. George, we've heard enough is not being done. On our part as journalists, if we had a newly recruited journalist, fresh man in the house, fresh lady in the house, and we put all our desk editors on the table, and everybody said, I'm desk editor for sports, I'm economics, environment. By the time you reach health, how many of them will pick health from your observation of how we African journalists behave?
Well, I'll go to experience here in Nigeria. I think the Guardian newspaper was the first newspaper, I may be mistaken, to have started a health desk, a health section, not a health page, but it was a pull-out that we had. Why? Because health was not being given enough consideration, space in the newspaper. You just said just now that it's hardly made headlines. It can make headlines because there is AIDS, because there is COVID, and the headlines are fantastic. 20 people died, 200 people were killed yesterday because of. We don't need to wait for that. We need to get these young journalists to be interested. Who says we could not go and get a nurse, somebody who is studying nursing or medicine, to become a journalist? Who says we should not get the medical doctors to start talking to us via the newspaper, via the radio stations, using our language so that we can encapsulate and improve the reporting of health and possibly cancer as well on the continent? We just spoke about World Cancer Day. That's the only time that I know that in Sierra Leone that cancer is being reported on. But the reporting is only, the minister said, the message from the World Health Organization was this, was that. We need to do more than that. We need to attract the younger people to come into our fold within the health sector, within the science sector, to explain to people in cleaner languages, apart from medical terms so that
Yes.
we can be able to prevent.
Yes, Rabbi. You are there, head of desk. You are the people who are doing the gatekeeping. You are the people who allow what comes in, what goes out. Passion is what drives this business. So, back to my question. What is the likelihood that in that scenario of asking a new recruit to choose a desk, that new recruit is going to come to your desk, the health desk? What are the chances?
Well, it could be from the perspective of someone who probably had a passion even before coming into journalism. He must have maybe, because if you have the passion for coming into the journalism profession, you must have a particular aspect that interests you or that appeals to you. It could be from the perspective of the fact that he had followed the trends of reportage and probably maybe found someone like me as a role model, and maybe from the things I have done in the past, and he's looking at, because we will not be there forever, he feels he has something to offer to even his own generation, and when he gets there, he could pick health and make a difference within his own small space. I think that could, inform his choice of leaving the other bits to settle for health.
Karen, how many of us journalists have come to us, and if you don't feel, and I'm sensitive to that, intrusive in my question, how many of us as journalists, as you journeyed through your experience, came to you to talk to you to find out what you're going through? How did they come? What did you find in the way they were trying to build the stories around your product?
I think I've had different types approach me. I've had those that approach me because they want to do a story and because it's a trending story, or because I'm trending at the time, because WHO has splashed my face all over, the internet. And then I've got those that will come to me and genuinely want to find out what my story is, how my journey is, and usually it's people that have been impacted in one way or the other by cancer. Probably maybe they lost a mother, or they lost a father, or they've got somebody in the family that is currently battling the disease. And it's these ones that will actually speak to you without being very intrusive. I think they're very aware of what you are going through as a person, because I'll tell you what, the cancer journey does not end because you're now declared cancer-free. I've been cancer-free for 4 years now, but I can tell you that every single day that I wake up, there's something that is a painful reminder of what I have been going through. So I call it the gift that keeps on giving, the chemotherapy and radiation. You feel you're done with treatment, but they're not done with you, and for the rest of your life, they'll keep reminding you. So I've got those that will come and genuinely want to find out what my story is. And even the way they ask the questions, you can actually tell it's from a place of empathy. It's not from a place of just wanting to do a story because cancer is a topical topic at the moment. So there are different types that will come to me.
You used the word, I want us to pick on and move on from there. Covering cancer, particularly the variants such as cervix cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer, can really be intrusive into people's privacy and create a sense of uncomfort. Rabbi, is there anything we should be concerned here as reporters in terms of the ethics of how we go about covering stories like cancer, which are about people's lives and private lives?
Okay, talking about ethics, I think it all revolves around the fact that you cannot give what you don't have. And as a journalist, when you report from the point of knowledge, from the point of something that has been scientifically proven, For instance, we have a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding cancer. And when you go reporting breast cancer, for instance, and you're trying to drive home the message that early, screening for early detection guarantees survival, higher chances of survival, and you're portraying this in your story because it's been scientifically proven. We know that some of these myths about breast cancer has to do with women, even with the belief that when a lump is detected in a breast, that is not supposed to be cut, because the procedure is to go for biopsy to ascertain if it's benign or malignant, that's if it's harmful, if you have some harmful cells or harmless cells around it. But when you have that myth of saying, oh, if the breast is cut open, or if it is cut because you have to do biopsy, that will aggravate what's already there. That's a myth. That's a misconception. So when we do the stories, is to portray the fact that, oh, you go for early screening and it guarantees your high chances of detection. You follow the procedures. Another has to do with the fact that cancer is considered a spiritual evil spirit in some quarters. They tell you that since it's like a spiritual attack, it means it requires a spiritual treatment. And as such, people who should readily go to health centers will not go there. They rather settle, in the healing homes or worship homes like churches and maybe mosques. I don't know, but these are some of the issues. But when we report, we tend to report the ones that are preventable. For instance, cervical cancer. We let people know that if young girls, before they become sexually active, get administered with the human papilloma virus vaccine, it guarantees their protection from cancer. And of course, when we do all of it, we expect the government of the day to provide that wherewithal to enable people who should benefit from such interventions to have access to them. Let me add this. As a journalist, I believe that one loophole that we need to close has to do with the fact that we move away, we change the narrative of highlighting the challenges all the time and look at places, things that had worked in other places, and find a way of how that came to be and try to replicate. This is Africa. There's nothing wrong in looking at a country, because I know that the cancer prevalence rate in countries in Africa cannot be the same. I'm very sure some countries are doing better than others in terms of prevention, in terms of treatment. So when we begin to look at what did country A do to get to where it is that country B needs to do, I think we need to have this synergy at some point. As journalists, I don't know how that's going to be done. Through our reportage, we could make this happen, but we require a whole lot of networking in that regard. Thank you.
Karen, what are the words that as a reporter, writing a story, telling a story of cancer, you become a little bit edgy, uncomfortable using? Does this turn us away from this topic?
I think that point you brought up is the biggest challenge that we have. And that is why we have very few journalists wanting to talk about some cancers. I mean, if you talk about cervical cancer, you talk about penile cancer, you talk about vagina cancer. Unfortunately, you have to say it as it is. There isn't any other way that people are going to understand. Whether you're going to use your local language or they're going to use English, you just have to say it as it is. I mean, Africa has the highest burden of any disease you may think about. Africa has the highest burden. So why should we cower behind myths, misconceptions, and stigma? I think that is where we're getting it wrong. We need to make the public aware of the diseases that are ravaging our population. And in order for us to do it, we just have to say it as it is, in as much as it is so very uncomfortable. I mean, I tell women to go for screening. If I ask how many women have gone for screening here, I don't think all the hands are going to go up. because just the process itself is very intrusive. But guess what? It's a 5-minute procedure that is uncomfortable that could save your life. And who can change that mindset? Who can change the perception? It's us, the people, with the power of the pen.
Myths about this disease. We talked about it as could be witchcraft because we don't understand it. Or it's a curse. If our technical team over there can help us with a video that takes us to another dimension of myths that we build. And we'll be discussing after we watch this video whether in our storytelling
To hear the
as journalists we go on to promote these myths or debunk them. Thank you.
4 years old at the time. I was hanging out with my friends, just living my best life, honestly. I thought I was on top of the world. And that's when I found this bump on my chest. When I went to the doctor, he looked at it and he said, well, I think you're okay, but like, this might sound a little weird, but we're gonna do a mammogram just to make sure it's nothing. And I didn't even think it was anything, so I was like, whatever. But then eventually, he called me and he told me that I had stage 2 breast cancer. Everything just completely stopped. I was like, okay, did they really say what they just said? So my grandmother had breast cancer and she passed away from it. And I pretty much thought it was women only. I did not know that men could get breast cancer. So, I was terrified. But when I got diagnosed, I did do the genetic test. And I found out that I had the BRCA2 mutation. I told my brother, I said, you need to get checked out because this runs in our family. And family members need to know that. So my treatment was surgery, chemo, and radiation. I lost about 30 pounds. I couldn't eat. I would be shaking. It was that bad. During my treatment, I kept it a secret. I didn't tell anyone. As a man, there was definitely a stigma, and I just didn't want those questions. So I was fighting for my life, and no one knew what was going on. And then I remember one time I asked my friend, I said, can I stay with you? I thought if I had gone to sleep, I was not gonna wake up. The following day, I was like, okay, you can do this. It's okay to ask for help. And so after that, my family, my friends, they were so supportive. They would bring me food. They would just, be there for me. I have been cancer-free for 2.5 years. I'm in a good place, and I will continue to go to the doctor. I will continue to make sure I'm okay. But it's a lot different now because I realize that there's something powerful about being vulnerable. It is powerful to ask for help. It is powerful to have people included in your life that love and want to support you. That's strength.
Thank you. Elephant in the room. Kenneth told us, I did not tell anybody I was suffering from breast cancer because he had confessed. Do men have breast cancer? It's a women's thing. I guess there are many such stereotypes, many such myths. Are we in our reporting sensitive to this? Are we perpetuating this? Or are we taking the lead of many of these myths to help people better understand the challenges? George, your take on that.
I think we're taking the lead. We have been taking the lead. Now, in the DRC, some of these diseases are called Los Spiers. That is, they were sent to you by remote control. Or they tell you, say, ça c'est la télécommande. It is not a white man's sickness, it is by remote control. Now, if I sit here and get to believe that, yes, it is remote controlled, and it is not the white man's sickness, so we cannot cure it, we have to go to church, we have to go to in Nigeria, to the Babalawo, or to the Obiaman, we will not get there. We have to start telling those stories of how to prevent them. And who should be our helpers? We should have our medical practitioners to help us talk about them on a regular basis. It's not when the World Health Organization's period comes on. But I listen to a radio like Radio France Internationale. They've got a weekly, in fact a daily program on health that they do on Africa, for Africans. Why don't we do those ones to start with for a week? The BBC has got Health Talk. They come to the continent to talk to us. They use us to talk to us. They use psychologists. We may not be the best people to talk to these sufferers. We should use our psychologists to enable them to come forward to talk, so that when they talk, they can talk to their villagers, they can talk to their townspeople via the television, via the radio, so that they get to believe that, no, so that could be taken care of, it could be cured. Let us do it. And if we use our path to do that, I think we'll get somewhere.
Rabbi, it looks like the disease that is eating down our practice of journalism and reporting, not just for cancer, is we've become very comfortable with our computers. Internet is there. The wisest man, Google, is there. And Zoom is there for interviews. We're not moving out from the comfort of our newsrooms to tell the stories which are human interest, the stories of people who are either suffering from this or who are recovering, telling the stories of leaders in our communities who are creating foundations to help young girls with issues of cancer. What is it? What is it that we need to do to motivate our journalists to move out and find the stories? The researchers out there, the doctors, were never meant to come to us. That's not the way journalism works. And that's not the way it's meant to be. We move out in the search of information. How is armchair journalism hurting the way we cover stories like this, which need to be told from the field?
Well, first of all, cancer story is not something you just set out to, pick, from the air. Most of the time, you have, a leverage, something, you are premising it on. I'm just using our own scenario as an example. At the National Hospital here in Abuja, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are their clinic days for cancer patients. And I know that there were times, we had gone there to see things for ourselves. And how did we even get to find that out? Just some years back, one of the leading oncologists in the hospital just called and said, Rabbi, can you make out time to just come over here and see the madness here? All the radiotherapy machines are down. There are patients from Ghana, Sierra Leone, all here helplessly waiting. They can't access services. So from there, we take him out, generates the interest that such unpleasant situation, would naturally generate. And of course, with time, there was a solution. There was a sucker. somebody, the government came to the rescue, and some of the radiotherapy machines were worked on. Some of them had broken down some of the teaching hospitals, including that of the National Hospital. That was a storyline. That was a storyline that when such, breaks, you can't sit, back in the newsroom. You need to get out there, and from there are other stories that will definitely follow up in the course of what you're working on. And I cite another instance. People come, sufferers come around with their stories, and they come for us to give them voices, to access treatment or help. And we have people who have foundations, we have wives of governors, we have people who have their own family foundations that are using such foundations to make a difference. So when we already have the story idea that we're working on, we go out there and get the stories, and of course we try to bring out the human angle to it. Like Karen has said earlier on, there's always this empathy, that cancer patients elucidate, and except you're a stone-hearted individual, there's no way your heart will not melt. So beyond the passion we have as journalists, when we have those human angle stories, we take them up and try to make a difference. So I think story ideas, going beyond that, we can have a level playing ground where we get to share experiences as African journalists. There's a whole lot of things to talk about. The albino, the people, those affected with the albinos in our society today, in this country, have a voice. They have a voice because we journalists gave them that voice. And how did it start? The issue of cancer of the skin cancer, how vulnerable they are to skin cancer, what prompted us we joined forces with them, and today they are singing a different song because of the support they got from the media. So what I'm trying to say in essence is the fact that we can do much more, but we need the support. Journalists need the exposure. For instance, when HIV and AIDS came, we knew what happened. We knew the kind of political will. We knew how the society rose. And today, HIV, the story of HIV has taken a different, or better dimension, I would like to call it. I'm saying that we could equally put that concerted effort into cancer prevention and control. And please let me add this. Africa is blessed. Africa is richly blessed with herbal medicine. We're richly blessed with plants. I don't share this belief that we need to wait for the likes of Novartis, the big names, with the cancer products, to start helping our people. That's why we as journalists have that voice. Here, back in the country, and even like the Nigerian Television Authority, we get experts who are going to be talking from the point of knowledge, from evidence proven, information that we could use on, because we are looking at the fact that we should pay a lot of more attention to preventive medicine. Because they say prevention is better than care. It's very, very expensive to treat cancer. And if we know the little things you could do within your own level as an individual, and we're sharing that information based on what we've been given by those who know. We know, for instance, that you need to consume adequate water to reduce the acidity of the body. Cancer cells thrive in acidic environment. They love oily, when you eat too much oil or consume a lot of sugar. We need to let people know that it even begins with them as individuals, and we use our stories to send this information rather than saying you have a role to play as an individual within your own, little space. So that at the end of the day, regardless of what government does or the political will that exists, you have a role to play, and we are playing our roles as journalists.
Yes, Rabi, a very forceful argument there. As we drive towards the end of our discussion, are we sensitive to the issues of gender as far as cancer is concerned? Are we giving visibility to the leadership that women take on cancer in this country? How can we tell compelling human interest stories, sing the songs of our heroines and heroes, so that they can inspire others? so that they can move us. Because as you said, Africa is blessed. And I think we can find homegrown solutions. But as media, how do we tell the story in a way that is compelling, in a way that is impactful, Karen?
I've always loved stories that have a lived experience in them, because I think they're more believable. If I'm just going to write a story and quote Dr. John, I think not a lot of people want to read, but if I am going to do a story that has a human face, I think that is more compelling, and it sort of relates, because somebody, for instance, if somebody does a story about Karen, they'll be able to relate to that person, and therefore they'll be more interested in reading to find out what happens to Karen. When we spoke about stigma earlier, in some of these stories, talk about the stigmas. I'll give you an example. When I was undergoing treatment, at first I thought, you know what, for a very well-exposed person like myself, I think I'm angry with myself for not knowing enough about cervical cancer. And so I was thinking, if me, a person who's exposed, what about my sister who's coming from the village? And so I decided to start talking to my fellow patients. And I asked this one woman, how did you know that you had cancer? And she says to me, I don't have cancer. My husband has got a girlfriend, and so it's this girlfriend that has bewitched me, and I started bleeding without stopping. So she didn't believe she had cancer, okay? I asked another person, and this one says, I went for a routine checkup after having, the symptoms. I was bleeding, I was having backache, I was bleeding on contact. But because I'm now on treatment, my husband says I'm not good enough for him. And my husband has brought a woman into the house to replace me whilst I'm undergoing treatment. So all these are myths and misconceptions that surround, especially diseases that are below the belt. There are so many in Africa. Where I come from, I don't know about other African settings, but I would like to believe it is the same, the world over. And so these are stories that are supposed to come out. And the reason why these stories are important is because I think they are going to spur the next person into doing what is right for themselves, into going for screening, into taking preventive measures. So to tell a compelling story, use the survivors. I think a survivor's voice, a survivor's face should be seen, should be heard. That is a very, very powerful communication tool. Get your facts, speak to the oncologist. Let them tell you about what is happening at the hospital. If you are able to get the statistics from the registry, that is a plus. But I think most African countries do not yet have a very good enough cancer registry. We have to depend on global cancer. For instance, Zambia, if I may speak on Zambia, we have to depend on statistics that come from the global cancer registry. And currently, we're still using statistics from 2020. So what is stopping us from having our own cancer registry and updating them, whether it's quarterly, whether it's 6 months, so that the journalists, when they come looking for that information, they've got the right facts so that they can add to their story. So if you have a combination of a doctor in the story, a combination of your facts, a combination of a survivor, I think you're going to tell a compelling story, and people will really want to read that story.
George, you're going to have the last word on this panel. Yeah. You talk to us about telling our stories in our own local languages, particularly on this issue where many of our citizens do not necessarily have access to the languages that we often use, whether they're English, French, or Portuguese. How have you seen a local language, community broadcasting? Are they a link that could be helpful in getting the messages out on the continent on cancer?
Right. I'll go back a little bit, talking about stigma. There is a village, a beautiful seaside village in the Freetown Peninsula called Laka. That was a place where some people came and installed and built a leprosy hospital. I say that place is beautiful, it is really beautiful. But because the leprosy hospital is there and lepers are going there, nobody ever wanted to go building there on that island area, simply because the lepers are there and they will contaminate them. Until they started getting cured, then they said, okay, so we can come here, and they started going there. Now, using our languages, there is no better way to transmit a message than using our language. And I used another tactic, another skill, by getting our artists. We know that they're very good. We get the artists to do songs around diseases, to do sketches around them, having some doctors, medical doctors, to be involved in them, having some survivors to be involved in them, and pass on the message via the radio and some television programs. That was done in Sierra Leone, and it was done in Ibadan, in this country, in 1985, together with some local, when we were talking about some diseases that were prevalent in Oyo State at the time. It worked. We can use our language, preach to the people, talk to them. That is the only way they can get it. Now we've got YouTube. We can put them on YouTube and send them around. You've got access, your television stations have got access to, you've got applications that can replay your programs. Use them, and you will see these people in the villages sit down in the evening, watch these videos, and get to believe that, so these things could be done. So we could be cured. So it is not the white man's disease. It is not this, it is not that. If we can do that, we will go a long way. But what do we need to do that? One of the R's that was spoken about yesterday, resources. If we get the resources, not necessarily from the government, but we can get it. I have been within a system where I know there are resources. We only need to actually present our cases properly in a succinct manner. You will be able to get that support. The World Health Organization has got a division that can help you to do that. If you cannot do it locally, if all of you heads of radio station, of broadcasting houses on the continent, go to Gabon, you talk to them, they will be able to help you. Together, you'll be able to get something which you can all share.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we appreciate George, Ravi, and Karen for having led us through this. We're going to transition very quickly to the end of our program. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry. Come on. Come, let's have a picture. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, are we feeling like our hearts are saddened and heavy by all these statistics of death, diagnoses, 5 people dying every time? No, don't have that feeling. And we should not. And why should we not? We should not, because amongst us is somebody who is very unique. Somebody who is an inventor, somebody who is an innovator, an entrepreneur. Somebody who tells us if you apply yourself to any problem, you can get a solution. Permit me to invite to this podium a robotics engineer, a daughter proud daughter of this country and this continent, who is the inventor of the smart, what do we call smart these days? Smartphone? The smart bra. Bra here standing for breastwear. Kemi Sola Bolawingri is here with us. And I want her to join us. This is a story of how Africa's ingenuity is being unleashed. And even in the face of the most complex problems, like the one we've just heard, we are not bowing down. We are trying our own homegrown solutions to home problems. Kemi, you're most welcome. Kemi, have a seat, feel free, make a choice. Thank you. Kemi, when people like me, who are not science-oriented, hear somebody called a robotics engineer, the only thing that comes to mind is somebody who is doing automation for car manufacturing, complicated processes for heavy metal plants. Tell us, how did your engineering, your robotics lead you to the track of health?
Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing me down here. When I got the invitation, I was so excited that, okay, this is a key place for me to be, in the fight of cancer, because we need media, we need them in this journey, in fight against cancer. Well, I'm a robotics engineer actually, and for my first degree, I think I studied electrical electronics. That was what I studied, and I ventured into robotics engineering. Robotics and embedded system. And like you said, robotics is not just about heavy metal, when you hear the word robot, no, it's beyond that. So I'm using that same skill set in the field of wearable now. Wearables is where we embed programmable electronics and sensors of clothing to solve health issues for security, and to also augment fashion. So that same skill set is what I'm using in that field. And I'm using that to solve health challenges.
Is there any particular reason why you got driven to cancer, to the issue of breast cancer?
Yes. Like the second panelist said, when you have someone within your cycle that is going through something, like breast cancer now, talking about breast cancer, surely everyone around the person is cheering from that pain. And same thing happened to me. I lost my aunt to breast cancer in 2017, July, and that brought about the whole idea, seeing a woman is something you can just wish for your enemy. That's how breast cancer is. The pain, it's crazy, and it's something you can just imagine. So that brought about the idea. I went into research because I saw it as a threat. In fact, it's a threat actually to every woman. And I spoke with some experts in that field, physicians, about what is the cause and how can we prevent. And is there any, first aid or something to that? And we had a whole lot of conversation. And what I could head on to that I utilized as a woman in technology was that if you're able to detect at any stage, then you have the chances of getting cured. So I add on to that, and I went into a research on how I can use my skill set, in the field of wearable now for early detection. There's this say that as a woman, you need to stand in front of your mirror for breast self-examination. Well, as a woman, we're all guilty of that. We don't do that. So we need something that can help us do this, for this breast self-examination, right in the comfort of your home without you going for mammograms, what have you. So that's what brought about the whole idea of the device.
From your loss came an inspiration.
Yes.
An inspiration could end up being a gift to the world.
Yes.
Tell us, what is the smart bra? Can you just tell me in a few words, what is it?
Okay, it's a smart clothing embedded with ultrasound technology, a painless technology, non-invasive technology, with some emerging technologies actually, like artificial intelligence and more, it's beyond that though. So it's embedded in the bra to detect the earliest stage of breast cancer. So all this technology are all embedded in the bra. So while you put on the bra, you get off your screen, and it comes with a mobile application where you can interact with and get your results, like real life results now. You know,
now.
Yeah, real life results on your mobile application. You know, can get the images. You know, pure ultrasound technology is what we utilize.
Good. Kemi, again, novices in the world of science.
Okay.
We hear you in the world of science talk about an invention, whether it's medication, whether it's a device, as going through trials. We hear laboratory trials, clinical trials. Where are we in terms of the process of certification of the smart bra? Where are we today?
Well, firstly, when I first developed the first prototype, for me to be able to validate the proof of concept, I conducted a trial, and it was conducted among 15 women. And though we have a success, recorded success of that, we have some bias, we have some lapses because of the results we use to train our artificial intelligence. So there's some lapses on that. So that's got about coming up with advanced technology to do that. And it was launched on BBC, so that attracted over to that invention, and people called in, people in that field. I'm just a woman in tech. I don't know anything about medical. So people in that field, physicians in that field call in, and they chip in more ideas on how we can improve the efficiency. And that's what we're doing right now. Because at first we are not generating image. No, there's nothing like imaging, but now we've included imaging. So after this phase, then we can now move into the trial that you just mentioned, the clinical trial, which will be conducted here in the country.
You've told us where you are. What is your overall feeling? No pressure, no declarations. We're not going to publish a story saying, Kemi says in the next 2 years we're going to have an operation. How upbeat are you about getting to something conclusive, very effective, and operation?
Okay, well, I'm not in a rush. It's not about monetizing or making revenue from it, because I always have an aim, and I do tell people my aim is to reduce the number of women dying of this breast cancer. Something very devastating. So that's the aim, and I have to take my time to perfect the technology that people can put on. So I will put a specific time around it, because what I do is R&D, based on research and development. Like, I can remember sometime last year I said, okay, before the second quarter of this year, I will have, the product will be hard. But no, we need to keep, researching to redefine, redefine the process, because it's an invention. It's not an innovation that's already been existing that I want to improve. So I'm starting all over again. It's an invention. So I have to focus more on the research to be able to get something good out there for people to use.
Here in Abuja, in front of Kemi, do you think we can leave from here without? Can we have a touch of this? Can we see it?
Oh, sure.
Because we can live with doubts. We cannot be here and talk about this as if to say we're talking about something abstract, is real. Final question, Ken. We're going to be closing our discussion, and we're honored to have you here. We're honored that you prove to us that where we are seemingly becoming hopeless, there are people who have the energy to tell us we can do something. I hope today's presentation of the Smart Bar becomes an inspiration to all of us, because, as I said, from a sad development, from your loss came an inspiration that could become a gift to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost there at the end of this symposium, but it would have all been talk, and we go back home. Permit me to express my thanks to the organizers of this event for believing in it as important, first of all, and for making sure that it happens, bringing together all these brilliant men and women to be with us today. Mr. CEO of the AUB, are we going to end at hot talk? Are we going to go beyond this? What's next for AUB's commitment to the fight against cancer? Of course, yes.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yes, thank you, Emmanuel. I would like to say that your question is really a program. It's a whole program because I want to underline the fact that when you brought this subject to me, I was going to a meeting at World Broadcasting Union abroad. And when I arrived there, I presented the subjects. That's how we used to do. And there was a lady just near me who asked me, do you think cancer is really a problem in Africa? You can speak about malaria or other things. I told her we will speak about cancer. And I think that decision was a very good decision. And after following this panel, this forum and so on, I would like to say that the decision was the best one to take. Usually at the level of our unions, we talk about digitalization, we talk about artificial intelligence and other matters concerning journalists. But here in Nigeria, we did it, but we added something with human interest. This cancer, because don't forget, when you are in good health condition, you don't think about it. But you must know that most of us will be tomorrow those who are sick today were yesterday. Means that they were in good condition yesterday, perhaps they were not thinking about it, but tomorrow, who knows? I don't wish it to any of us, but we must be prepared to face it. That's why I think this is the beginning. The beginning, we are launching a network of African journalists against cancer. Let me put it in another way. We are launching a network of African communicators, because Madam is a communicator on her field. And I would like all of you to join it. And as I said yesterday, Madam Kamal of AUB will be coordinating it. And I would like Karen, Rabi, George, and so on to join this, to join AUB, so that we should work on it. And I would like to tell George that the problem is not the problem of means. We must know exactly what we need, what we want to do. The problem is our commitment. We have to commit ourselves to fight against cancer, to prevent cancer. And when we will be all committed, I have to say it in French. When we will be committed, the means will come. Means will come. The first thing is the commitment. Nous devons montrer notre engagement notre sérieux et notre volonté de faire un network, un réseau de journalistes, de communicateurs
against cancer in Africa. And I really enjoyed the statement by Rabi a while ago. We should not always wait for others. We need to come together by ourselves. And AUB is going to launch this project with the help of Emmanuel and all those who have been part of it, but with permanent secretary Mrs. Margaret from AUB, because we need to do something. We need to do something, especially we need to come out of stereotypes that think, just like Mr. George said, that cancer is something that stems from witchcraft. We need to go beyond this level, and we are now committed to associate ourselves with the World Bureaucracy Union and all other networks to do something credible, something that is visible, something that works for everyone. C'est ce que je peux dire.
I don't want to say exciting, but it was a painful full subject, you know. When you heard what Rabi was talking about Mama and so on, you cannot stay, if you are a human being, you cannot stay as if there's nothing happened. So
thank you, Mr. CEO. And to close, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. To close, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a very brilliant session. And permit me to acknowledge in a very special way somebody who is not here with us for unavoidable reasons, but who guided us in the preparation of this symposium. Our keynote speaker made mention of Professor Isaac Adewale. 3 months ago, when I started this, my first contact was with Professor Adewale, somebody I've never known, but we've kept contact. And I salute his leadership from a science perspective and from policy as a former minister. And I want in a very special way to acknowledge that contribution. Again, as students of the Abuja University Teaching Hospital, I hope it's been an experience which you've enjoyed. There's something to take home from there. Ladies and gentlemen, I've had the best panel, but I want us to thank in a special way. You've noticed for the first time, this is almost a women's dominated panel, which speaks to the commitment, unique commitment that African women bring to things they take seriously. In our countries, in our cities, we know of a foundation, we know of charity on cancer. Most of them are led by women. I therefore want in a very special way, as we close, to recognize Kenny, Karen, Rabi. Thank you for making it this, and all the best. Thank you. I hear that the questions about Kemi, I knew this will happen. Can we demonstrate what this bra looks like? Can we let people see what we do? Yes, she will do that for us, because it would be like we've just seen a dress in one of the big shops downtown. Good, thank you. Yes.
One announcement?
Yes.
Before she starts?
Yeah. Before Kemi starts, the CEO wants to make an announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like, I will start now because I'm sure I will do that again this evening. I will start by thanking our brothers, CU Dombos and all his team, NTA at whole, for what they did for the success of this conference. You were wonderful. I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. You are special people. You are special because from the beginning to the end, things went as if God decided to leave the sky and come and start directing them. And we are grateful to have this type of company as a member of AUB. What I saw here, you cannot compare it with what I used to see elsewhere. It was very, very good here. That said, I think we still have a challenge. A small challenge, but also a big challenge. You know, for those who learn Latin language, they used to say, in cauda venenum. In cauda venenum. It means that it is in the taste that bad things used to come. It's true that for we Christian and Muslim, we used to say, it's better the end at the beginning, because everyone is expecting the end just near the Almighty God. So this evening, we have a special event here in this hall. It will be for the first time AUB is organizing this type of event. I'm happy to know that we are organizing it with one of our best member, NTA. We have AUB show. It will not be only AUB. The event itself will be organized for the first time, but the part of events, all of them will be done for the first time. First, we will have the result of the contest we did between all our members, and with prizes. We will have a special opening on one country, one of our biggest member called Algeria, and we will have music, culture, and a lot of things. So please, we would like you to be there on time and to come and listen, to watch and see what will happen today. And also to clap your hands when you hear that your friend of another company receive a price of $3,000 US. You must be happy that somebody else receive it. But you should come there today for that also. That's African spirit, you know. So, that said, I would like to take a big rendezvous with all of you by 7 in this hall. You can come. For ladies, you can come with your husband. For men, you can come with your wife. It will be for communicators family, African communicators family. So thank you. Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. So, Kemi, we're waiting on you. While she does this, I imagine, and I don't want to prolong an event that was closed while she's doing this, Kemi, I would be putting you on the spot by accepting 1 or 2 questions about it. Anybody has a question for Kemi? Anybody has a question for Kemi about the smart bra? Nobody? Yes? The microphone is yours. They're bringing a microphone to you. Microphone is being brought to you. So Ken, I'll give you the microphone. You just open it and, oh yes, just show them what is inside so that they can see the inside. Let's hear the question. Have you got the microphone? Please, your sound.
Sorry, please. My opinion is that let her do the demonstration. Let's see what she has. Based on that, we will ask relevant questions. That's my thinking. Because if we don't know, and after she had finished and we all leave, we want to know what she is doing. Thank you.
Question to Africa 24. Give the microphone to Africa 24.
Where's Africa 24?
Constance.
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank that lady and to talk about the cancer. Normally, I wasn't supposed to be here today and to be at this meeting. But when I saw the AUB took the decision to talk about cancers, I decided to come. Because tomorrow, 20th of May, I was supposed to be in my village in Cameroon, near my sisters who died from a cancer. This is 6 years ago. And I was very, very proud of AUB team, Grégoire, Director General, Emmanuel, to choose this thematic. And also, I'm proud of the women leadership that you brought into this. Because I always think that when women in Africa are taking care of some topics like this, we know that we can deliver. As a new member of UB, and this is something I told to the Director General the first day. I told them that they may not see the impact, the quality of the work they have done since. Now, I believe that Africa Channel, Africa Broadcaster, can have a strong impact in every challenge we have here in Africa. A strong impact. And I want the Director General to agree, to allow, because of your leadership. And the fact that, as a new member, I heard the president of the AUB yesterday talking about executive member, how to need to involve. As a new member, I want to assure you that our media group will be a supportive part of this decision, this project. And you can be sure that starting today, from my words, we will be giving, as soon as the AUB will send us the document, just the request, we will be giving, if it's tomorrow, we'll be giving it tomorrow. And we want, because of the quality the NTA has brought, everybody has brought to bring us the year, I want to make sure that all our different member, partner of media, can contribute in that. So we will be giving to the AUB $10,000 US to start this program. And
hands together, please.
As soon as it's done, we will transfer the money, and we will be giving also 100,000 of advertising to promote the cause on All Africa 24 platform, and also in all media to promote this first cause. Let's start with us. Let's start at this point and make sure that we can.
Ovation for that.
No, there's no need. There's no need. I believe that, let's start with that. We at AUB, the work you have done is not only the work for the media. I always say it's a game changer. Let's start on that point and make sure that the state innovation can come in Botswana next year, when we make sure that every members of AUB can contribute whatever is the level. We make sure that we take this to this point and move forward. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. That's the change. That's the change we were asking for. Mr. CEO, I thought this was just hot air we have exchanged, but we're seeing the impact right away. So thank you once more. Kemi, what is this bra? Is it the ordinary bra? Tell us what it is. Show people what it is.
Yes. This was the first prototype we did that we launched February last year. I mentioned that we utilize ultrasound technology, and we're working with piezoelectric sensors, and these are what we have here. If you're familiar, with the medical professionals here, you're familiar with ultrasound, and you know what ultrasound means, the physics behind, let me put it that with the physics behind ultrasound. The same physics is what we utilize here, and you have the sensors here, but we now put some trick, which make it smart. You mentioned automation, we utilize that. It automatically diagnoses on its own without any human interference. It does that on its own. So this is the first one you can see. That's the first one, and this is the second one you can see. Have we changed that? We have a change in the arrangement of sensor and the type of sensor we use. And the third one, which we're working on currently, it will be a bit different from what we have here, because we are developing, we're researching and developing, and we noticed that the arrangement of the sensor here is not what is going to work. So we have to get more sensor specifications for this. And this is how it works. Well, the brand one, it's meant, because this question has been coming, is it something a woman will put on just like the normal bra that you wear for a whole day? No, it's a diagnosing device, just like other devices you have in the house, like your BP monitoring device. You use it, you get your readings, and you drop it. Same thing with this. So you put it on for the maximum of 30 minutes. You wear it to scan yourself in the comfort of your home. Then you get your results on your mobile application. It comes with other values, not just you scanning yourself or screening yourself. You can also check your BP with it. You can check your temperature, your heart rate with the bra at the same time. But the major focus is to diagnose the breast, and you get your results on your mobile application. Coming to the health effect now, because that's another question, because you have wires, no electronics there. It's safe. It's very safe. Like I said, it has no radiation. It's pure ultrasound, no radiation compared to mammogram. Mammogram utilizes ray, despite the fact that it is minimal, but at the same time still dangerous to the body tissue. But this, no radiation at all, and no pain. It's painless. For women that have gone through mammogram before, you know how that is. This is totally different from mammogram, and these are the advantages that this device adds over mammogram, and it can conveniently diagnose women with dense breasts. That's mammogram find difficult to do. So those are the advantages that it has over the existing technology, I would say.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question, but you know who is asking for the floor? It's a medical student, and I can't say no. So can he have the microphone? Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this technology. I have two questions, actually. We know that the major problem with computer-aided diagnosis is the issue of AI bias. That is data used in training, data set used in training the system. And you mentioned that during your prototype testing, you actually encountered some incidents of bias. How do you plan to address this? And then the second question I have is, we know African women have a very, very wide range of breast sizes. So how do you plan to adapt this technology for people with much smaller breast sizes and people with much larger breast sizes? Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for the question. Like you said, I've already made sure that during my presentation, how we say that the first trial that we made, there was a bias because of the data set we used. Because the previous technology we implemented then doesn't require imaging. It's just you collecting data set, getting your depths, and I mean, you're a medical student, you will understand what I'm saying. Getting the depths, the sensor traveling into the breast, coming back, we measure the depths, we measure the sound wave and all of that. So we use parameters. So we went to some hospitals here in Nigeria. We couldn't get parameters because most of the ultrasound machine utilized here is not compatible with DICOM technology. So it was so difficult for us to get those parameters. So that actually brought us to to improve on it on imaging. So because the results within us or within our range are image results. Most of the hospitals that we went to, they tell us, oh, this is what we have, it's image. So we can work with your image. So that is why we are now working with image right now. And you agree with me that we have a whole pool of imaging, results of image, in the country. And if you want to even go beyond Nigeria, go to other African continents, we have them, we have imaging. And one thing about machine learning, about artificial intelligence, is how pool your data is, how large the data is. If you're able to pull up a whole lot of data, then you get your accuracy. So that is it, and that's how we want to tackle that. Going by the breast size, it's a birth. We'll be working with literary companies, companies that come with women underwear to come up with different sizes. So it's going to come with different sizes, and the size will depend on the distribution of our sensors. So the larger the size, the cup size, then the larger or the number of sensors we're going to embed in it. So we already put that in plan.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. My duty, my time is over. Thank you.
They work with time.
Okay, please, Mohammed Ali, can you get someone to help us take this out? Yes, I believe you can have closer look at the smart bra outside. Bola, it's going to be outside, right? So you can have a closer look at it later. And Bola Rewa, there's a question. Someone is asking how affordable is it? Bola Rewa? Bola, how affordable is it? Someone is asking.
Okay, we are going to try our best to make it affordable, and we've also come up with other plans to make sure that women that live below $5 are able to utilize to be a beneficiary of this device. So the price, I will make sure, we're going to make sure that is affordable for women to pay.
All right, thank you very much. We'll ensure that it's affordable for African women to get to pick it. So Bola is going to be out there with the bra later, so you want to ask your questions or take a closer look, that's fine. Very quickly, we have very little time now. Let me just announce that for those who will be going for Jumat prayer at the National Mosque, which is just close by, a bus will leave at 1:45 p.m. A bus will leave at 1:45 p.m. Right now we'll take communiqué. It's been a very interesting and impactful week from what we talked about intra-trade in Africa. We talked sports, we talked public service, and today we've talked health. We'll have a communiqué on our activities so far, and this will be presented by Andre Nausi. Andrea Nausi, very quickly give your presentation of the communiqué so we can end.
Merci, Madame le MC, de me passer la parole. Thank you, Madame the MC. The communiqué will be read in French, please.
Headset. Yes, I know. 14e Assemblée ordinaire, Assemblée générale ordinaire de l'Union africaine
de radiodiffusion, UAR, 16 au 20 mai
2023, Abuja, Nigeria, hôtel in Abuja Continental Hotel. Final communiqué. The 14th session of the Ordinary General Assembly of ABU was held from 16 to 20th of May in Abuja, the capital of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The theme was the digital transformation of the world, impact and challenges for African broadcasting. The following, we have 135 delegates representing sister union, observers and partners. The following items were on the agenda: opening ceremony, messages from partners and sisters union, Inter-African Trade Forum, Symposium on the management and exploitation of broadcasting rights for sport events, presentation of the PSU Content Exchange Platform, and discussion on the importance of programs exchange, conference on the changes and challenges of African broadcasting in the face of digital transformation of the world, statutory meeting, symposium. The Executive Council met on Tuesday, and the protocol phase was in the presence of the Minister of Communication of Algeria, His Excellency Mohamed Bouslimani. In his welcome remarks, Mr. Sami Abdul Hamid, Director General of the Nigeria Television Authority, NTA, the agency co-organizing and hosting the General Assembly, wished for a diversification of partnerships to meet the crucial challenge of the digitalization of African audiovisual media. Following him, the head of the two other national institutions insisted on the need for the media to go digital while emphasizing the quality of content and the promotion of indigenous teams. These are the NBC, FRCN, and Voice of Nigeria. The chairman of the Executive Council of AU expressed his deep gratitude to the government and people of Nigeria for the warm welcome and congratulated the Director General of AU and his team and urged African broadcasters for focus on their function as content aggregators. The Minister of Information and Culture of the Republic of Nigeria, having announced that he was unable to attend, and his speech was read by his representative, Dr. Gelba Albari, and also reiterated the availability of his country to share his experience in the area of digitalization of content and audiovisual tools. It is worth mentioning that the following day, that is on the 18th of May, the Minister himself, His Excellency Lab Mohammed, came to warmly greet the participants. He took the opportunity to underline the decisive and positive role played by the media in critical phases of his country's life, such as the recent presidential election, which were popular, democratic, and peaceful, and also talk about the access of information, and this also will enable to help the citizen, which facilitate the informed participation of citizens in the activities of their countries. So the four institutions were given the floor briefly were Arab State Broadcasting Union, European Broadcasting Union, France Media Front, OSBI, that's Islamic Broadcasting Union, and so on. While looking forward to participating in the work, they congratulated the African Broadcasting Union for the relevance and topicality of the general theme, as well as the density of the agenda. They reiterated their willingness to contribute to the materialization of the request that will be expressed at the end of the meeting. The forum also treated the following themes.
Les échanges ont débouché sur la nécessité pour les médias du continent de faire l'ouverture de ce commerce
African products by Africans. Symposium on the management and exploitation of sports rights. The history of sporting events on the continent over the last 50 years shows that they have gone from being purely recreational with free broadcasting to becoming a social power and business issue with constantly exorbitant costs. For the past 15 years, Africa, through the AUB, has chosen and consolidated a good number of positioning through grouped negotiations and with a single voice. The receiving success of this approach is materialized by the acquisition of broadcasting rights on the continent of the major CAF events. This dynamic must be consolidated and diversified. Presentation of the AUB content exchange platform and debate on the importance of program exchanges. As a prelude to the debate, a 3-minute video was shown on the PSU clearinghouse installed since September 2022 in Algiers, thanks to the precious support of the government of the Republic of Algeria. Speakers stressed the importance of program exchange as a livelihood of audiovisual media networks. In the context of rapid digital news, productions must be rigorous, professional and faster in order not to let social networks peddle inaccurate, truncated or false information. The major challenge remains that of training or upgrading professionals, a process already undertaken by the AUB. Thus, after a 1-month training course for a group of professionals at Algiers Center in 2022, nearly 2,000 subjects were received, most of which were taken up in Africa, Asia, Europe, and America. A campaign will soon be launched to recruit focal points for program exchanges from the broadcasters of the PSU member states. Conference on the theme, the digital transformation of the world, impact and challenges of broadcasting. 4 panels took to the stage to examine the crucial issue of how African broadcasting media can adapt to the exponential growth of digital technology. The following themes were addressed. African media facing major digital mutations, the challenges of newsrooms in the face of technological and digital progress, the responsibility of the media in the digital transformation of African society, strategies for the digital transformation of African media. There was a convergence of views on the need to combine analog, digital, and digital. The urgency of training and retraining, including online ensuring the indispensable support of state, of the financial, legal, and institutional levels. The rapid specialization of channels, targets, and processes, the urgency of helping to educate the public on the use of digital platforms. Taking part in the exchanges, the Minister of Communication of the Republic of Nigeria stressed that African countries must join forces to take up the challenges of digital technology. By capitalizing on the asset of a dynamic youth that is very open to digital tools, we must join forces. Digital technology is a blessing, he said. AUB statutory meetings, 14th General Assembly, restricted to members of the Executive Council only. This General Assembly examined resolutions proposed by the Executive Council in its session of 16 May 2023. All the documents examined at the time had been sent to members about 10 days before the present meeting in Abuja, which facilitated the exchanges. After discussions, the members adopted by acclamation the budget of the PSU for the year 2023 with a strong exhortation to members to pay their dues, including arrears. The report of activities for June 2022 to April 2023, the audit report of accounts for the year 2022, the organization of the Summit on Artificial Intelligence in December 2023 in Kigali, Rwanda. The consideration with a consultant of a project of a trade fair on the audiovisual communication professionals, the amendment and the composition of the Executive Council to replace Cape Verde by Tanzania. Then Mr. Raymond Cheko, Director General of Botswana Broadcasting, who chaired the PSU Executive Council from 2019 to 2021, announced that his country wishes to make up for the impossibility of hosting the PSU in that period due to the COVID pandemic. Botswana therefore proposes to host the 15th PSU General Assembly in 2023. This proposal was met with a round of applause. Finally, members discovered the outlines of the first AAB show evening planned at the end of the General Assembly on the 19th of May. The aim is to combine the useful with the pleasant, to reward the best radio and TV, and to pay tribute to people whose action has been decisive for AUB or for public broadcasting in general. Symposium on African Broadcasting, Media, and the Ravages of Cancer, targeted as a public health emergency and a societal phenomenon in Africa. Cancer was the subject of intense discussions between communicators and scientists under the theme putting public service broadcasting media at the forefront of African public health agenda, shedding light on the unknown realities of cancer. The following themes were discussed: leaving no one behind, bringing collective urgency to necessary tasks, cancer, science, and prevalence in Africa, media coverage of cancer, dealing with myth, stigma, and other challenges. At the end of the symposium, a network of African journalists for cancer control was created. Closing. In this tribute, the PSU Director General thanked His Excellency Abdul the President of the Republic of Algeria, for the exceptional working environment offered to African audiovisual professionals through the headquarters of the continent during the exchange in Algiers. He asked him to take the lead in the constitution of a special fund of PSU, which will be launched shortly. Officials, participants were pleased with the impeccable organization of the 14th General Assembly. All were invited to a special excursion on Saturday, 20th May, to discover facets of Nigeria, rich culture and heritage. The date has been set for the 15th General Assembly at the PSU in 2023 in Botswana. Thank you very much for your attention.
That was the communique presentation by Andre Nelsi. And this brings it brings our 3 days of activities General Assembly to a close on the 14th ordinary session of the African Union of Broadcasting. Very quickly, NTA has been able to host this and put this together with some partners, some sponsors who have gladly done this together with us. One of our notable sponsors would have been here but have to take a leave, and have asked that I read their message. Now, this is a goodwill message by the Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, Professor Umaru Garba Dambata, at the 14th Ordinary Session and the General Assembly of the African Union of Broadcasting, holding in Abuja. The Nigerian Communications Commission is delighted to identify with the 14th Ordinary Session and General Assembly of the African Union of Broadcasting, ably hosted by the Nigerian Television Authority, a worthy long-term partner of the Commission. We identify with the theme of this gathering, the digital transformation of the world. It is a reality that we now daily align our regulatory activities with innovation and technological advancements that have digitized human activities on a scale that humanity is still adjusting to. The transformation has positives that benefits the world when properly tapped into, as we have seen with the opportunities that abound in the global digital economy that now encompass many aspects of human endeavor, including broadcasting. While bearing this in mind, the Nigerian Communications Commission carries out its regulatory functions to strengthen the telecommunications platform, a critical infrastructure on which digital transformation thrives. To this end, the Commission has succeeded in reducing the access gap across the nation. In 2013, there were 217 clusters of access gaps, according to a study we conducted. We took steps to reduce these to 114 clusters by 2019. And by 2022, there were only 97 clusters of access gaps left. NCC has intensified efforts to speed up the reduction of these remaining access gaps. I am pleased to inform this General Assembly that broadband penetration as of the first quarter of 2023 stands at 48.21%, and we are on course to meet and even exceed the targeted 90% broadband penetration by 2025. We also have special ICT intervention programs in secondary and tertiary health institutions spread across the Federation. We are confident that these regulatory interventions will ensure widespread broadband penetration and telecommunications coverage, which in turn support digital transformation in the broadcast industry and the digital transformation of the world. Be rest assured that the NCC will always support broadcasting as we are partners in progress. It is on this note that I wish you an enjoyable stay in Abuja, and I hope you had a very impactful session. Professor Umaru Dambata, Executive Vice Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Communications Commission. So that is a goodwill message from the NCC. I would once again add my voice to remind us that later this evening at 7 o'clock, we expect you back here looking all fly, looking ready for the red carpet. We will celebrate the best of African culture in music, in dance, and of course not forgetting our award presentations for those who actually made entry. We will sort of be a celebratory night, and for those of you who would like to explore Abuja, I understand tomorrow is still another day. So I would on this note say thank you very much. Those leaving for Jumat prayer, don't forget 1:45 a bus will be waiting for you outside to go to the National Mosque. My name is Cecil Egbele, and I would like us to please rise as we take Nigeria's national anthem and we end the session proper. Have a good afternoon. I understand that you announced for tea break, but it is not a break anymore, so tea is outside.